Hello, everyone. Welcome to Job Club. I am so excited that you're here. We will be talking about working in the United States today, as well as American work culture. So I'm excited to have you here. Let's get started. So these are some of the topics that we will be covering in today's course. So the importance of getting a job, the US job cycle, documents needed to apply for jobs in the US, full-time versus part-time, exempt versus non-exempt, what to expect during onboarding, the probation period, helpful terms to know, and overall tips to being successful at work. Hopefully you find this information helpful. So why is it so important to get a job? That is the big question we're going to ask ourselves here. There are many reasons, but earning money to help you pay bills is an important one. Meeting new people and connecting within your community, that is also very important. Improving your English skills, gaining experience to advance in your career, and supporting your family as well. I'd also like to talk about the benefits of improving your English skills. So you could gain citizenship, communicate with your doctor, help your children with school, connect with your community, get an education, manage important paperwork, and understand US culture and systems in place. Now, let's talk about the US job cycle. We are going to go into much more detail about each of these different steps, but I wanted to kind of give you a visual of what this cycle looks like so that you can kind of envision it as we go through it. So first, we find job openings and apply for jobs. These two steps go hand in hand, and we repeat them over and over as we apply for jobs because they are kind of what gets everything going. You find a job opening and you apply. Next, what you're hoping is going to happen is a job interview. So usually within the process of getting a job, there are multiple interviews. So you can expect, I would say, at least 2 to 3 interviews when you're, interviewing for a job. Then we have the job offer, which comes with a job offer letter that we will talk more about a little bit down the road here. We have the onboarding process, which is just kind of a bunch of different things that happen when you first start working at a job, when you first agree to the job offer letter. A start date is set. You receive your first paycheck within the first couple of weeks, and then the 90-day probation is kind of the end of this job cycle. So let's get into it. So let's talk about finding job openings and applying for jobs. So finding job openings, this is the first step. You want to figure out what your options are and see what available positions interest you. So when looking for jobs, you are continually, repeating these steps of finding openings and applying for jobs. When you apply for jobs, you want to make sure that your resume and cover letter are ready and apply for multiple jobs. This will give you a better chance at finding the right position for you. When you apply, you want to show that your skills match what the employer is looking for. So that's where reading the job description can really help you figure out what is the employer looking for, what qualifications and skills do I have that I should add to my resume so that into my job application so that my employer knows I'm a good fit for this job. These steps will hopefully lead you to getting an interview, and it can take some time to hear back about an interview because employers have other applications to review. So don't get discouraged if it takes a little while to hear back. Sometimes that's common, and it really is just a waiting game a lot of times. Okay, so an interview. When you get an interview, you will most likely be notified by an email from a recruiter or human resources representative. Before landing a job, you usually must go through several interviews with each company. That's very common. The first will likely be over the phone, and the next 1 or 2 will either be in person or over video call. interviews over video call have actually become a lot more common lately, just with the pandemic and health concerns. So it wouldn't be uncommon to have a video call interview in this time and place. Again, the employer wants to make sure that your skills and qualifications are a good match for the job. So a big tip that I like to give is to make sure you thoroughly read the job description before going into an interview so that you know exactly what the employer is looking for. All right, then the job offer is really what we're after here. So when you are offered a job, you will receive a job offer letter. A job offer letter is a document that details your agreement with the company who is hiring you. It is important to make sure you understand all conditions listed in the letter before signing the agreement. This marks the start of the onboarding process. So some things that may be in the job offer letter are your salary, whether you're full or part-time, benefits, paid time off, vacation time, things like that. You can expect to be in the job offer letter, so you'll know about ahead of time. When you sign the job offer letter, this means you are accepting the job. So make sure that you look at that agreement and make sure you consent to everything that is in there before you sign. Then we have the onboarding process. So this is the time an individual needs to adjust to and learn about their new job duties and company policies. At this time, you will likely get a tour of your new workplace, meet your coworkers and supervisor, and learn important things about your new job. You'll also fill out important documentation. And you'll complete clearances such as a background check, a child abuse clearance, or a drug screen. These are common clearances that people must usually complete. And then a start date will be agreed upon. So a start date will be agreed upon within your first job offer letter. Your first day of work is very important to show up on time and show your new employer that you are excited and ready to work. We really, really value timeliness here in the United States. So showing up on time or even early is very, very important. So for your start date and just in general with any job, definitely keep that in mind. So your first paycheck. It's important to know that at first you will receive a physical paper paycheck in the mail. Within the first few weeks, you will be able to set up direct deposit with your bank account, which means the money from your paycheck will go directly into your bank account on payday, instead of you having to physically deposit a check every time you get paid. So it's a very helpful and convenient option that is available that I would suggest taking advantage of. Then we have the probation period. So the probation period usually lasts around 90 days or 3 months. This is seen as a trial run at your new job. During this time, you have the opportunity to prove yourself and show your boss that you are capable of keeping up with your job duties and responsibilities. So this kind of goes along with the onboarding process, and it usually lasts, like I mentioned, around 3 months. So you are being evaluated by your employer to make sure you are a good fit, but you are also evaluating your employer and your new work environment to make sure that it's what you are looking for. You want to really work hard and prove yourself during this time to show that you are a good fit and that they made the right decision by choosing you. Some important documentation that's needed when applying for a job. So one thing to know is that if you have either an employment authorization card or a green card, if you have one of these, you're good to go. You can apply for a job. If you do not have one of these, you can do a combination of your social security card and a Pennsylvania state ID or driver's license. So one of these, or a combination of a social security card and a Pennsylvania state ID or a driver's license. That's just important to know. Even if you don't have your employment authorization card yet or your green card yet, it's still important to get these documents. It's important to have all of these documents, but this is just something to know for if you need to start working, that's the documentation that you'll need. Now, this is an example of an I-9 form, which is a very common form that you need to fill out when you are applying for a new job. I wanted to touch on section number 4, which you will likely be checking off. When you check off this section, do not add an expiration date. Do not put the date from your EAD here. You're allowed to write NA or not applicable. So just keep that in mind because I think that that's a very important piece of this. So again, you're likely going to choose number 4 and you do not have to put the expiration date or the date on your EAD here. You are allowed to put NA or non-applicable. So this is for the I-9 form, the first page of the I-9 form. So you will be having to fill this form out. And I also wanted to go over common first jobs in the United States. So some common first jobs would be food and restaurant industry, hotels and housekeeping, retail, cashier, customer service type jobs, staffing agencies, home health aides, and construction. Now, it is important to understand that these jobs are not supposed to be permanent. Ultimately, we would like to help you get back to the career that you were, working in your home country. But it is important to get some kind of job to help you get on your feet here in the US. And so these are some of those jobs that can help you do that and help you get back to the job you would really like to have. These jobs can eventually help you enter into the field of work that you are actually interested in. So this is some important information to know. So let's talk about full-time versus part-time. Now, full-time and part-time work is determined by the amount of hours you work per week. So if you work 35 hours per week or more, that means you are a full-time employee. If you work less than 35 hours per week, that means you are a part-time employee. So that's an important distinction to make because you will be one of the two. This will be determined before your job offer letter is sent and signed. But full-time is 35 hours per week or more. Part-time is less than 35 hours per week. Now, something that goes along with this is hourly and salary workers. Now, if you are an hourly worker, that means you are paid per hour of work. If you are a salary worker, this means a set amount of money is received each pay period. So, hourly worker is paid per hour of work. Salary worker, a set amount of money is received each pay period. This will be stated in your job offer letter as well, so you will know about this when you're going into your job because you will have signed the job offer letter and agreed on it. Another thing to go over is common work shifts. So we have, anything from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. You could also have 11 in the evening to 7 in the morning. It depends on the kind of job that you have. I will say that most common office jobs will be in this range here, 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. Those are the most common office hours, but depending on your job, you could be anywhere in this range. So a little bit more information on what to expect during onboarding. You can expect to meet the team that you will be working with and meet your point of contact. You will learn about dress code, what you are expected to wear as an employee of the company. Examples of dress code would be business casual or a construction uniform. You'll receive paperwork that needs to be completed outside of orientation. And you'll receive a copy of the company employee handbook, which is a list of rules and legal aspects of the workplace. So you will learn a lot during this time. Training will take place and you will learn all about your new job duties and responsibilities. So it's a very important part of the job cycle. a little bit more information on probation period, like we talked about. So the length of time, again, is usually 90 days or 3 months. It's when employees will receive extra supervision or coaching as they learn about their new job duties and responsibilities. New employees and the company evaluate each other during this period, and the company can terminate the employee without notice. So it really is a trial run. You really do want to work hard, improve yourself, and show that you're a good fit for this position. And you do want to pay attention and make sure that the company is a good fit for you. After the probation period, employees can begin using their paid time off and benefits. This usually starts after the probation period ends. Another important thing to understand is exempt versus non-exempt employees. So the first thing to understand here is overtime. So overtime means the amount of time someone works beyond normal working hours. So a normal full-time work week is going to be around 40 hours per week, 35 to 40 hours per week. If you work over 40 hours per week, that is considered overtime. So exempt versus non-exempt kind of differentiates between whether or not you are compensated for that overtime work. So if you are exempt, that means you are a salary worker, you have a set amount of money that you're paid each pay period, and you are not entitled to overtime pay. If you are non-exempt, this means you are an hourly worker paid by the hour, and you are entitled to overtime pay, which means you will be paid 1.5 times the amount you normally receive per hour. So exempt means you are not entitled to overtime pay. Not exempt means you are entitled to overtime pay. It's important to note that employers of exempt employees who are not paid overtime will sometimes offer bonuses or paid time off. So this sometimes will balance out, but it is important to understand that distinction of whether or not you are compensated for overtime pay. Some helpful legal terms to know. So we have employment at will, which means an employee can be fired at any time for any reason. Your employer has the right to fire you, and you also have the right to leave the job. You're hired at will. If you are leaving a job, a common practice of courtesy is to give your employer 2 weeks notice so that they can find a replacement for you. That's just something to take note of. Arbitration is an out-of-court method used to resolve issues between a worker or employer. This takes place in front of a neutral decision maker. And attrition is when there is a reduction of employees and personnel in the workforce and the department heads do not hire replacements. Some other terms to get familiar with. We'll start with sick leave. So there, when you're sick, you're not feeling well and you can't go into work, there is no federal legal requirement for paid sick leave, but the Family and Medical Leave Act does require a certain amount of unpaid sick leave for each job. Now, there's also parental leave, the time after birth or adopting a child when a parent takes care of the child. This leave is unpaid and counts as one of the reasons an employee can take unpaid leave of up to 12 weeks. Other reasons for unpaid 12 weeks of leave are care of an immediate family member or a serious health condition. So that's something to take note of as well. We have PTO, or paid time off. This is a company policy that combines vacation, sick, and personal time for employees to use as paid time off from work. It is gained over a period of time, and employers may also set an amount of paid time off employees are allowed to use per year. Paid time off is not guaranteed at every job, but it is something that some jobs will offer. Then we have vacation leave, which is time off for vacation. Employers are not required to provide vacation benefits, paid or unpaid. So your employer will let you know if you are entitled to this leave or not. For good hygiene, wash your body once a day, brush your teeth after every meal or twice a day. Wash your hands after using the bathroom, as well as before and after eating or preparing food. And wear clean clothes. If you have a uniform to wear to work, make sure that it's washed and it's not wrinkly or something like that. And some general tips to help you succeed at work. Be on time. Always check for traffic, bus or train schedules before you leave to make sure that you won't be late. Again, we really value timeliness here in the US, so that part is very important. Make appointments outside of work. Any personal appointments, definitely try to make that outside of your work schedule, or have good communication with your supervisor and boss, and make sure you let them know well ahead of time. Follow the dress code and all company policies. Keep your job for at least 6 months. I mention this because I think it's important. It shows that you are committed and reliable to the jobs that you hold. It will also look good to other employers when they review your resume. An employer wants to see that you are committed and you will stick around and really contribute to their company. And so the longer you stay at a job, the better it looks on your resume. And if you ever need to take a day off, like I previously said, make sure you alert your supervisor well in advance. Thank you so much for joining me for Job Club today. I'm so glad you could be here. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.